Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's review, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Transformers Earthrise Generation Selects Deluxe Centurion drone. Now, this figure is a Generation Select figure, meaning that it is typically an online exclusive. However, something that makes this particular set really interesting is that this figure actually comes with a weapons pack, an accessory set for some of your other War for Cybertron trilogy figures, which is a first ever for an official Hasbro product. So to begin with, we'll take a quick look at the packaging. You can see here that it is the standard Gen Select packaging. I would have thought that perhaps they would have put that this included an accessory pack, but you can see that all it says is that it is a Deluxe Centurion drone. So once you open the packaging up, you are witness to both the figure and a huge box containing all of the fantastic accessories. Now, personally for me, I'm not entirely sure about yourselves, but I wasn't so keen on actually picking up the Centurion drone, as it is just a direct repaint of the previously released Siege War for Cybertron Deluxe Class Brunt, but I was so looking forward to finally getting an accessory pack in order to amplify some of our already previously released figures. You can see here that for the top of the packaging we have an image displaying all of the different accessories that are indeed included within this box. So we've got Optimus Prime's Energon axe, Megatron's mace, Optimus's ion blaster, Energon cubes, Trailbreaker's radar dish, Ironhide's drill, an actual pistol of Megatron. We do have Soundwave, a small Optimus Prime, Refractor in his camera mode, Shockwave, Bumblebee's blaster, roller, as well as the jetpack that you can peg onto any of your other figures. So just to show you what you get when opening this, you can see that it does come packaged in this really awesome white and black style guide with the Autobot insignia and some Cybertronian writing. If you look to the side, we have the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy text, and then when you open this section up, you are witness to a plastic bag which contains the extremely wide magnitude of amazing looking accessories. We'll talk about these later on in the review, but first of all, let's take a quick look at the Gen Selects Deluxe Class Centurion. So taking a quick look here at the Deluxe Class Centurion drone first, as this is the more lackluster of the releases that we get in this packaging, you can see here that for the most part this figure is just a direct repaint to the previously released Siege Deluxe Brunt. However, I really did like that figure, and it was actually one of my favourite weaponizers to come out of the Siege toy line, so to get this figure in a new repainted deco, I was all for it. You can see here that the paint applications are really nice. This figure is mainly just casted in this grey plastic, although it's definitely not as drab nor as bland as some of the other figures that are casted in grey plastic. It has this almost metallic shine to it as well. You can see the reflectiveness to it here, which is super cool. And he does also have some nice silver highlights as well as some nice red paint applications in order to make the sculpt and the overall design of the figure look slightly more interesting. So you can see here for the head sculpt, I think the paint apps came out really clean. You've got these sections here which are picked out in a nice red paint app. And then here for the claws, you've got all of the lovely sculpted in detailing with the nice details in the centre. And then the torso too is really nicely detailed. No paint bleeds on this release whatsoever, which is nice to see that Hasbro is indeed keeping up with their quality control. And you can see here for the lower region of the figure, we do have some slightly darker grey highlights as well. But I think that overall it looks super cool. Just turning it around to the back so you can have a back perspective. And comparing it to the previously released Siege Deluxe Class Brunt, you can once again see that these two figures are exactly the same. There is no mold differences to these whatsoever. I would have perhaps have liked it if they would have given the Centurion drone a slightly different weapon, perhaps a shoulder mounted cannon, just to differentiate it from the previously released Siege Brunt. But nonetheless, I still think that it's quite a nice repaint. Very quickly going over the articulation of the Centurion drone for those of you who haven't previously watched a review of the Deluxe Class Brunt. The head is on a hinge joint so it can swivel side to side. The arms can rotate the full 360 degrees as well as hinge out to the sides. We do indeed get a full 360 rotation there at the bicep, as well as a slightly over 90 degree bend there at the elbow, and the claw here can also hinge forwards and backwards. We do get a full 360 degree rotation here at the waist. The legs can kick forwards that far as well as back that far. He can of course do the splits. We can rotate here the full 360 at the thigh, as well as we do have a 90 degree bend here at the knee. And finally for articulation, we do have some fantastic ankle rocker joints. So overall for articulation, the Centurion drone is just as articulated as its previous mold mate and is a really good looking deluxe class. So setting Brunt off to the side now and transforming the Centurion drone up into his tank mode, it's exactly the same as what we got with Brunt. So you just essentially want to detach all of the individual components to the Centurion drone. Just pull the torso away so that you've got all of these individual pieces. We will then come to this section here. I believe you have to just fold the head back like so, and then this section here will follow. We then want to collapse this section inwards. Come to these pieces now and fold out this section, and it will peg into a tab and a slot here, so just align that up appropriately. Set that off to the side for now and take these, and you're just going to want to compress these until they clip into place and fold up the claw. Repeat the same process here for the opposite side, so fold that all up and snap that into place. And then with these, you just tab these onto the sides of our Centurion drone's torso. And then we'll bring in these pieces, which, if I recall, you'll need this to actually tab into this section. So align the tabs and ports up and snap all of that into place. And then, of course, we just peg this piece in. Make sure that that's all aligned up nice and appropriately. And then just align this up so that we have the two tabs here and here. And then what you'll do is you'll take this section, port this into here, take this and peg this into the top. And then just align these two nubs here and here with these sections. And then this section will slide into this groove. So we just want to align this up, snap that all into place. And then we have the Deluxe class Centurion drone fully transformed up into his rather awesome looking tank mode. Taking a quick look here at the Centurion drone in his tank mode, you can see that all of the same details that we had in the robot mode are still present and correct and are indeed carried over. I do believe these sections here should be folded in for a cleaner look at the back so you can see how that all tidies up. And overall, I think that it's a really awesome and very convincing looking tank. I think that these look awesome. I always really enjoyed the Siege Brunt mold, so to get this figure in a repainted colour scheme, I'm more than happy to add to the collection. And you can see all of the fantastic detail and sculpted in paint applications. He does roll via these four wheels on the base, and he does roll really nicely as well. We do get a full 360 degree motion here at the tank turret, and the hinge joint can also hinge the main Gatling gun or turret up and down. Comparing it here with Siege Brunt, similarly to robot mode, these two figures are identical. It is merely just the colour schemes that are different, but you can see how drastically different the colour schemes are. Of course, this figure is more grey, whereas this one is completely purple. And in terms of my personal favourite, I still do really like the original colour scheme. Now, of course, with this figure, as he is a weaponizer, you can break him up into several different components, of which the instructions will demonstrate. I won't be demonstrating that in this review, seeing as I believe I've already previously reviewed the Siege Deluxe class Brunt, so if you do wish to see all of the different weaponizer modes, be sure to check out that review, or just check out the instruction manual here. You can see how you can break all the individual components up in order to weaponize some of your other Siege and Earthrise characters. And now taking a look at the accessory pack that we do indeed get with the Centurion drone, here we have the complete array of individual accessories, and I've got to say that if this is the direction in which Hasbro are going with in future Gen Select releases, then I'm all for it, and by that I mean releasing upgrade sets or accessory packs with individual standard figures, as this allows us to get additional accessories that perhaps we missed out upon first time round with the initial release due to budgetary constraints, or accessories that are a massive upgrade over what we got with the original release. Now, to begin with, I'll take a look at my favourite accessory, that of course being Optimus Prime's Ion Blaster. You can see that the sculpting and detailing as well as the paint applications on this is truly terrific. And yes, I did indeed say paint applications, as this entire blaster has been painted in this matte black colour scheme. Now, that is actually a pro and a negative in my opinion. The pro to that is that it has this really very distinctive look when compared to some of the more plasticky blasters. It really does look very high grade and premium, but the negative to that is the fact that due to it being a painted piece, when you insert this into the figure's hand, you're more than likely going to eventually chip off the paint to the handle, and I'm pretty sure they could have created a very similar look if they'd just casted this in black plastic. Now, this is only a problem in my opinion, is because some of the other accessories that were in dire need of paint applications have unfortunately missed out, and I think that they could have utilised moulded coloured plastic and given us a very similar look, and then utilised the paint apps that they would have saved for this and incorporated it into some of the other accessories that didn't have paint apps. But nonetheless, the blaster here looks terrific. I'll go into more detail on this when we take a look at how you incorporate it into the figure. We also do get Optimus Prime's Energon axe, another accessory that I'm thrilled to have here with this latest box set. So you can see here that it has been cast in this translucent orange clear plastic, and I think that the effect looks amazing. Now, you can see here that there is a smaller section and then a larger section. That's because it actually pegs into the figure in a very specific way. The thumb will rest into this groove, whereas the main part of the hand will wrap around this section, but once again I'll demonstrate that later on in the review. Talking of Optimus Prime, we do indeed get Roller. Finally, we can complete our Optimus Prime and his trailer. So here we have Roller, and similarly to the blaster, this is indeed painted. If you flip under to the underside, you can clearly see the very ugly grey plastic and the really lovely metallic blue that they've painted this piece in. You can see here that it's very glossy. You've got all of the details such as the seat. We do indeed have some nice details on the front, and the wheels have been given this really smoky, almost transparent black plastic, and I think that the desired effect works really nicely. Turning to another accessory that I'm glad to have, here we have Megatron's Mace, and similarly to Optimus Prime's blaster, I'm so glad that we have one of the more iconic accessories that Megatron wielded within the G1 cartoon, realised in a plastic format. You can see that it has been sculpted in this really lovely pink transparent plastic. Unfortunately, there isn't a real working chain here, this is just moulded plastic. However, seeing as this is probably designed to fit for a younger audience, I can completely see why they decided to mould the chain. We do have a Decepticon insignia moulded at the top, and all of the different spikes at the tip of the ball too have also been sculpted really nicely, and I just think that the overall colour pops so well when you implement it onto Megatron. Similarly to Optimus Prime's Energon axe, the actual peg is designed to peg onto Megatron in a very specific way, and once again I'll demonstrate that more when we take a look at how you incorporate the weapons. We do also get Sideswipes Jetpack, however it does have two 5mm ports, so you can incorporate this into near enough any figure that has a 5mm port on his back or their back. We do also get a minuscule version of Optimus Prime. This is desired to go with the upcoming HasLab Unicron, and you can see even for its incredibly minute size, they have still managed to capture a terrific amount of sculpting and detailing. Once again, completely unpainted, but I still think that it does the job really nicely. We do also get Ironhide's power drill here. This is where we get to some of the more lackluster paint applications, as this has not been painted whatsoever, but the sculpt is really nice. We do also get Megatron in his original form, so here we have Megatron in his pistol form, and this has been painted. So we have this section here which has been painted in a really nice glossy black paint app, and the handle too has also been painted, and we can also actually remove the silencer. So if you just pull this apart, you can have Megatron in his more traditional look for his blaster, and then just set the silencer off to the side, and in order to peg it back on, you can see that there is a slight slot there that will groove over the top of the front of the barrel, so just align that up, and there you have Megatron in his pistol mode. We do also get Cliffjumper's blaster, and this has been sculpted really nicely. However, once again, there is no paint applications. The same can be said here for Bumblebee's blaster, really nicely sculpted, but once again, lack of paint applications. We do get Trailbreaker's radar dish. I imagine that this will have more of a function when we actually do get Trailbreaker, as for now, it is just a generic radar dish, but you can see the nice sculpting and detailing here, and even on the back. Another really nice accessory we get is Refractor in his to scale camera mode with some of the other figures, and the sculpt work on this too is magnificent. You can see all of the sculpting and detailing of the flash and the lens. Unfortunately, no paint applications applied, but I'm sure if you're a customizer, you're going to have an absolute field day with this upgrade kit. And then here we have Shockwave in his blaster form, very similar to Megatron. Shockwave did originally transform into a blaster. I would have much rather have them just casted this in a purple plastic as opposed to a grey plastic, as Shockwave is iconic for being a purple Decepticon, whereas here he is just shown as being a really boring and very grey looking Decepticon. We do also get Soundwave in his to scale cassette player mode, and this has actually been painted, which is cool. So we do have a black paint application there for where you would insert the cassettes, and the rest of it has been painted blue, and then the grey plastic there I think contrasts really nicely with the rest of the sculpt, and you can see some of the smaller details such as the buttons and the clip at the top. And then turning to some of the larger accessories, we have a pair of Energon cubes. Now surprisingly, these are sculpted slightly different to one another. You can see here that this one has something going through the middle of it, whereas this one doesn't, and as of yet I haven't found no use for this, so I'm unsure as to why there are two different sculpts, whereas they look very similar at the top. So perhaps a future release will shine some light on that, or perhaps if you know down in the comment section below, you can let me know, and I'll be absolutely thrilled to hear on what you think the origin of this is. But the Energon cubes are for sure a really nice welcome addition. And then the largest accessory that we get is indeed the cage in which the Autobots capture Ravage in and lock him up so that he can no longer cause harm. You can see here that the detail on this is really nice, so we do have a lock at the front, and we've got all of the bars which have been sculpted, as well as some nice grooves on the side. Similarly to Optimus Prime's blaster, this has been cast in a transparent plastic, but has actually been painted. Now I don't know why they didn't just cast this in a black plastic. That to me would have made a lot more sense, and once again would have enabled some of the other accessories that don't have any paint applications to actually get paint apps. But nonetheless, here we have the complete array of accessories, so let's begin showcasing how they can incorporate to some of our already released figures. Now, showcasing the integration with the Earthrise Optimus Prime and some of the accessories, you can see that here we have Optimus's new Ion Blaster, and just quickly comparing it to that of the Earthrise Blaster that does come standard with Earthrise Prime, you can see how significantly larger the new blaster is, and in my opinion looks far more superior, and is definitely a weapon that I'm sure will be formidable to the Decepticons. In order to peg it into the hand, it's very similar to that of all of the other 5mm ports, so you just simply take this and slide this into the hand, and that is Optimus Prime wielding his new blaster, and I think that that just looks absolutely terrific. So awesome to get one of the best G1 representations of an Optimus Prime with a really awesome looking blaster. We can also take the Energon axe here, and as stated when I did my overview of the accessories, this does go in a certain way. So you're going to want the larger section here to cover over the palm and the fingers of the hand, and then the thumb will indeed slide into this smaller section. So just close the fist, take this here, and just align this up and slide that in, and there you have Optimus utilising the axe, and I think that that just looks so cool. I'm so glad that we do indeed have a really awesome looking Prime wielding his Energon axe. From the side you can see here the hand is indeed visible, however you can move this around to your so desire and really and truly conceal the hand, and I love how it wraps around in this almost bubble shape. Bringing in Roller now. Roller does indeed integrate into the trailer, so you can see here that there is a port that will peg into a peg that's on the trailer here, so you can just align Roller up, snap him into place, and you can have him fully solidified within the trailer. So for me, this is a completed set, and if we bring out the Sideswipes Jetpack, which you can indeed peg onto Earthrise Prime's back, we have a budget version of the MP44 Optimus Prime, and in some people's opinions, including myself, a probably more enjoyable version of Optimus. Now, showcasing the integration between a Siege Netflix Megatron and the Mace accessory, as stated in my overview, there is a specific way that this does indeed insert into Megatron's hand, and you can see that this section here is open, whereas the side of it is concealed. That's because the block section on the back of Megatron's hand here is designed so that it conceals all of this to make it look as if though it has formed out of Megatron's hand. Now, something to be cautious of is that I do think that the tolerances to the actual peg and the slot in Megatron's hand are slightly off. When you do insert this, it does take a considerable amount of force to actually peg it into Megatron's hand, and takes even more force to indeed remove it, and seeing as this is transparent plastic, I'm really unsure as to how that will hold up over time. So my recommendation to you would be that if you do find that you do have issues inserting it and retracting it out of Megatron's hand, I would recommend sanding this down ever so slightly, or applying a slight oil to it so that it can slide in and out a lot easier. But just to demonstrate, I will only peg it in slightly just so that I don't have any issues removing it. You can see that it does take a lot of force to get in there, and there you have Megatron wielding his Energon mace, and I think that looks super cool. Unfortunately, the pin joint on my Megatron's hand is slightly loose, so it does make posing a little bit more difficult than it would be if it was stiffer, but I still think that the desired look is really awesome. And now to quickly showcase some of the other integrations of some of the accessories. Here we have Ironhide wielding his power drill, Cliffjumper wielding his blaster, Starscream wielding Megatron, and Sideswipe here wielding his jetpack. And you can see how nice and clean that does indeed peg onto Sideswipe's jetpack, and as stated before, you can definitely insert that onto any figure with a 5mm port on the back. Showcasing how you can actually capture Ravage, you just want to open up the cage, take Ravage here, place him in there, and then just align up the slots and the tabs. These are transparent tabs, so I would definitely recommend taking your time when aligning them. As you can see there, I've already unfortunately got a slight stress mark, but just align these up and begin to slowly close this up. As stated, you're going to want to take your time with this, as of course you don't want to break this. Just close that all up, and there you have Ravage concealed within the cage, captured by the Autobots. So that was my review for the Transformers Generation Selects Deluxe Class Centurion Drone and Accessory Pack. I'm absolutely thrilled to have the Accessory Pack within my collection, and it was honestly something that I wasn't expecting Hasbro to release, especially not in the near future, so it's great to have some of the more iconic accessories for some of our more iconic characters, and it for sure is a really nice bonus. The Centurion Drone, whilst it may not have been the highlight for the set for me, I still think that the repaint and the colour scheme looks quite nice. It would have been interesting to see them perhaps remould and give him a brand new shoulder cannon, but nonetheless, as stated before, I've always liked the Siege Brunt, so to get him in a repainted colour scheme I think is great, and the accessories, as stated throughout this review, are definitely the highlight. The Optimus Prime weapons, as well as the Megatron weapons, for me, are my personal favourite. I love Roller, the Blaster, the Energon Axe, and of course the Energon Megs. The other accessories are all really fun and just help to weaponize and give your iconic characters some of their more signature weapons. So if this is the route that Hasbro and Takara are indeed going to be taking the Generation Select line in the future, and by that I mean releasing an accessory pack or some accessories with a Gen Select figure, then I'm all for it, as this for me was one of the best Generation Select packs that we have gotten in a very long time. So that just about wraps up my review. I really do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do let me know down in the comment section below, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.